Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, an old farmer called his 2 sons to speak with them.
My sons, I am very old now. I want to see you build a happy home with your future wives.
The farmer went out to the wooded area in the garden with his sons. He asked his sons to each cut down a tree.
You will find the love of your life in the direction your tree falls. But do not forget to plant a sapling for every tree that you cut.
The boys first planted 2 saplings in the ground. The big brother Jack cut down the oldest tree he had ever seen, as his father had said, and the tree fell on the north walkway. Later, youngest brother Thomas cut down an old tree, but his tree fell in the middle of the forest road.
Looks like a deer in the forest is waiting for you to get married.
Thomas didn't let his brother's teasing bother him. Both brothers set out with great courage. After a while, Jack reached his true love, whom he found in the north. He gave her flowers and asked her to be his wife. But Thomas was wandering alone in the desolate forest. Eventually, he saw a small hut among the trees. He went in, but didn't see anyone.
There's no one here.
What do you mean there is no one? I'm here.
What?
A mouse was gently combing her mustache in a corner of the hut.
You look disappointed.
Okay, but you are a mouse, not a human. I came here to find the love of my life.
The little mouse told Thomas that she could be the love of his life. But Thomas didn't believe it.
Then I'm sorry. You won't find another girl in this forest. I'm the only one here to be your true love.
But how can I trust you?
I promise you, right now, with all my heart, I will be your princess.
Thomas was impressed by these words and felt that somehow this must be his true love. That evening, the 2 brothers told their farmer father about the people they had met.
Tell me, can the people you met cook well?
Yes, she can cook.
Then I ask each spouse to make me a loaf of bread.
Along the way, Thomas went to the hut he had discovered in the woods, wondering if a mouse could make bread. He immediately asked the little mouse if she could make bread.
Of course I can. Wait a little.
The little mouse rang a silver triangular bell. Then a few mice came to her. The little mouse asked them for the best wheat grain they could find. As Thomas watched in amazement, one of the mice brought the best wheat grain. The little mouse made a delicious bread from this wheat grain. Thomas thanked the little mouse and returned home immediately. Big brother Jack brought his father a rye bread and Thomas a fresh wheat bread.
Both of your breads look very good, but the freshest is the bread that Thomas brought.
Tell me, Thomas, is your spouse a forest princess?
The farmer told his sons that it was time to meet their wives. Thomas went to the little mouse's house with great joy. The little mouse, in her best attire, rang the silver triangular bell. A beautiful car with a driver came right before her. The little mouse got into the car and they drove home with Thomas. As they were moving along the road, they came across a rickety bridge built over the river. The mouse driver did not notice a stone on the bridge, and it made the car bounce the mouse right into the river with her car.
Oh no, my love! My love! What am I going to do now?
Thomas wept on the bridge, and the tears fell into the deadly river waters below. A beautiful young lady appeared in front of him. She had silver hair and blue eyes. "Thomas, it's okay. Come with me or we'll be late."
What? How? You?
"Yes, Thomas, it's me, your love. I've been under an evil spell for a long time. If your tears hadn't mixed with the river water, I would have remained a mouse for the rest of my life. Thanks to your love for me, I am a princess again, Thomas." Thomas and the beautiful princess finally arrived at Thomas's house.
Thomas, my son, we are so glad you introduced us to such a lovely princess.
It turns out that Thomas's luck was not due to the tree he cut, but to the fact that he was kind to every animal and human being he saw. From that day on, Thomas and the beautiful princess, who was once a mouse, lived happily together for a lifetime. One day, a smart rabbit was going to enter her house in the forest, and she heard a terrible sound from inside her home.
I am the invincible warrior who takes 1,000 steps. I can trample a rhino under my feet and crush an elephant like an insect. Nobody can beat me.
The rabbit was very scared by what she heard, so she ran away from her house right away. And after a while, she came across a fox. "Hey, Fox! Someone has taken over my house in the forest. Could you persuade him to leave?"
Of course, rabbit sister.
The rabbit and the fox went to the rabbit's house. The very confident fox shouted into the cave.
Hey, you! How dare you break into my friend's house? I am the invincible warrior who takes 1,000 steps. I can trample a rhino under my feet and crush an elephant like an insect. Nobody can beat me.
The fox did not expect such a bold proclamation and was so afraid he didn't know what to do.
Sorry, rabbit sister. I could never win against someone who tramples an elephant.
When the fox ran away, the rabbit got even more scared. She started wandering sadly among the trees and finally came across a rhino. "Hey, Rhino! Someone I don't know broke into my house in the forest and I can't get him out. Can you help me?"
Of course I will. Come, bring me to your home.
The rabbit brought the rhino in front of her house.
Hey, you! How dare you break into my friend's house? Come out and show yourself.
I am the invincible warrior who takes 1,000 steps. I can trample a rhino under my feet and crush an elephant like an insect. Nobody can beat me.
But the rhino was scared too and didn't know what to do.
Bunny, I just remembered I have a dentist appointment. Very important. I had forgotten. I gotta go now. Bye-bye.
When even the big rhino couldn't help the rabbit, the cute rabbit hit the road again, and this time she came across an elephant. "Hey, elephant! I am so desperate, only you can help me. Please get this stranger out of my house." "Don't worry, cute little rabbit. I'll help you. Let's go." The rabbit brought the elephant in front of her house. "Hey, you! How dare you break into my friend's house? Get out now!"
I am the invincible warrior who takes 1,000 steps. I can trample a rhino under my feet and crush an elephant like an insect. Nobody can beat me.
The elephant was so scared that even her trunk trembled. "Dear rabbit, I'm sorry, but I don't want anyone to crush me. The elephant left the rabbit and went back to her house. At that time, a small frog was passing by the rabbit. Hey, frog! No animal in that forest could help me. Please bring out the stranger who broke into my house.
Of course, rabbit sister. Show me your house.
The rabbit showed the frog her house.
Hey, you! If you don't come out of my friend's house now, I'll come drag you out. Don't come close. I am the invincible warrior who takes 1,000 steps. I can trample a rhino under my feet and crush an elephant like an insect. Nobody can beat me. Now listen to me carefully. I'm a frog with sticky feet, and I'll jump right on your head and annoy you for days. Don't you dare. Please, stay away. Well, then get out now.
Hearing the brave cry of the frog and the rabbit's unwanted guest inside, the other animals immediately gathered to see who the mighty warrior was.
Come on. How long you gonna make me wait? I'll count to 3. 1, 2... Okay. I'm out. I'm here.
Everyone looked around, but saw no one. Where are you? No more tricks.
Right here. I'm standing at your feet. It's me, Centipede.
All the animals started laughing when they saw the centipede. The people of the forest laughed a lot that such a powerful voice came from a tiny centipede. But they always believed that some people in this forest can have very surprising powers.
I am the invincible warrior.
One day, a mouse who lived in the city went to visit his friend. His friend had left the city a while back and began to live in the country. After his long journey, the city mouse had finally arrived next to his friend in the village.
This place smells awful. How do you live in such a place?
After a long and tiring walk, the city mouse finally arrived at his friend's field. The country mouse had made himself a house under the ground. This is where he lived.
How does my friend live in such a bad environment? I still don't understand.
The city mouse knocked on the door. The country mouse opened the door. He was very surprised, and at the same time, he also was very happy to see his friend.
Welcome, my friend. What brings you to this side of the town? I was bored from the city life. I've been meaning to come and see you and the way you live for some time now. But I can see that you're not all that happy. Says who? Why don't you come inside and I'll prepare something to eat?
They both came in. The city mouse was amazed to see the inside of his house, because the country mouse was living in a dark, small, airless little hole.
What a dark and tiny home you have. How do you live here?
The country mouse had prepared something for his friend to eat. On the table were a piece of cheese, lettuce, carrot, and kernels of corn.
Come on, my friend. Enjoy this dinner.
The city mouse had a look at all that was on the table and said,
You call this a feast? Back where we live, the mice won't turn and have a second look at this type of food. We have cakes, pastries, variety of cheese and meat. You can find anything you desire in the city.
After the city mouse had finished his meal, they began to walk around the country mouse's hometown. The city mouse did not like where the country mouse was living at all.
These type of places are not for my liking at all. It's very dirty and boring. You must visit my hometown one day. I should take you around the city. You must see it. I'm sure you won't come back here.
The following morning, the two friends said their farewells. Soon after they had parted, the country mouse decided to visit his friend in the city, and so he began his journey. After a long journey, he arrived in the city. The country mouse arrived at his friend's house according to his friend's directions. The city mouse was living in an apartment. The country mouse was shocked when he saw where his friend was living.
This huge house is yours? Not exactly. I'm sharing the house with the landlords. I'm very hungry. Show me that amazing feast you were talking about.
The city mouse entered the kitchen, opened the fridge door, then took cheese, meat, and a variety of vegetables and fruit. He put them on the table, and as they began to eat, they heard a cat meowing. The city mouse jumped to say,
Oh no, the cat of the house heard us talking. We must hide. Follow me.
Both mice entered a hole in the wall and got away. Out of breath, the country mouse asked,
You live in the same house with a cat? Isn't this dangerous? It sure is, but this is the price I have to pay if I want to live in luxury and wealth.
After a short while, the cat left the kitchen and they came out of the hole and continued to eat. A while later, they heard the street door open and the city mouse panicked.
Come on, hurry up and run. The landlord came. Run before she sees us.
The mice ran back to the little hole and the country mouse, out of breath, asked once again.
This time, I don't know why we ran. The lady landlord, doesn't she know you live here? Of course she doesn't. People are very dangerous. How do you live in a house like this? Well, it has its days, of course, but I'm very happy living this way. Look at this. I can eat whatever I want whenever I want. It's safe to go. Come on, let's continue eating.
The country mouse got out of the hole, but as soon as he got out, he walked towards the door and began to complain.
No, thank you, mister. I have lost my appetite. This much fear is enough for me. I'm leaving. Where are you going? I'm going back home. My house might not be rich, but I live in peace with my freedom. I'd rather live in peace and feel free than to live in fear all the time.
And so the country mouse returned to his poor lifestyle and continued to live happily. And he never returned to the city ever again. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful princess in a big castle. One day, her father the king gave her a golden ball as a birthday present.
Happy birthday, my daughter.
Thank you, Father. The princess loved this golden ball. She started to spend all her time playing with it in the garden. One day, she went out with her ball and started to play with it, tossing it around. The princess came next to a little pond and kept on playing with the ball. Right at that moment, she could not catch the ball after she tossed it in the air, and the ball started to roll away. My ball! The princess ran after her golden ball, but the ball got faster and faster. Finally, the ball fell in the pond and sank into the deep waters. Oh no! The princess sat down next to the pond and desperately started to cry. My beautiful golden ball! How am I going to bring it back? Suddenly, she heard a voice.
Ribbit, my beautiful princess, why are you crying? Ribbit.
She looked around but could not figure out where the voice was coming from. When she looked closely, she realized that the voice was coming from the frog that was right next to the pond, looking at her. The frog leaped towards the princess and asked again after he got closer.
What's wrong, my beautiful princess? Why are you crying?
The princess got stunned when she saw a talking frog. A talking frog? How can that be?
Well, here I am, talking, beautiful princess. Now tell me, why are you crying?
Coming back to herself, the princess started to tell her story. The golden ball that my father gave me fell in the pond. It's already at the bottom. How am I going to get it back? The frog came next to her feet and made an offer.
My beautiful princess, I will bring back your ball, but in return I will need you to do me a favor.
The princess was curious. So what's the favor?
If you accept to be friends with me, I would like to live with you in the castle.
The princess thought about it and then accepted his offer. So the frog jumped in the water and went out of sight. A while later, he appeared with the golden ball and threw it to the princess. Reunited with her ball, the princess happily started to walk back to the castle. Seeing the princess leaving the frog behind, Frog yelled after her.
My beautiful princess, you forgot me. You promised to take me with you to the castle. Ribbit.
The princess yelled out from afar, laughing. How can an ugly frog like you even imagine to live with a beautiful princess like me?
Ribbit.
The princess left the frog right there and went back to her castle. In the evening, the king, queen, and the princess sat down at the dinner table. Right when they were starting to eat, they heard a knock on the door. The maid told them that a frog had arrived and told them that he was invited by the princess and asked permission to come in. The king, surprised, asked his daughter.
Would you like to tell us what's going on, my daughter?
Well, Daddy. The princess told all about what happened that morning at the pond.
If you gave a promise to the frog to save your ball, then you must keep your word for it.
The king ordered the maid to welcome the frog inside. A while later, the door opened and the little frog came in leaping and stopped next to the dinner table.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, my king, for allowing me in.
With one big jump, the frog landed next to the princess's plate. He looked at her, unhappy. The king ordered a plate for the frog, but the frog stopped it.
No need for a plate. I can eat from the princess's plate.
The frog started to eat from her plate. The princess was really upset with him, but she thought that he would leave after the dinner anyway, and didn't say anything. But the frog had no intentions to leave after the dinner. When she left the table, he followed the princess to her room. Time passed and the frog got sleepy.
My princess, I'm really sleepy. I'd like to sleep in your bed if you don't mind.
Afraid to upset her father, the princess had to say yes to that too. The frog jumped on her bed and put his head on her soft pillow. Trying not to show her anger, the princess laid next to the frog and slept. In the morning, the frog woke the princess up.
Good morning, my beautiful princess. I have one more wish from you. If you do that, I will leave right away.
Hearing that the ugly frog would leave soon, without making it obvious, the princess was extremely happy. All right, shoot. What is it now?
I want you to kiss me, my princess.
The princess jumped out of her bed furiously. How dare you? That is impossible! The smile on the frog's face disappeared, and instead a teardrop ran down his cheek. The princess thought for a while. Oh well, what's the big deal with one tiny kiss? Evidently, I won't see him ever again. And so she gave him a kiss. As soon as she kissed the frog, a bright white light covered the room. Due to the light, the princess couldn't see anything. After a short while, the light disappeared. The princess started to see again, but this time she could not believe her eyes. Right where the frog was standing a moment ago, there was a very handsome man instead. The princess was stunned with what she was seeing. She couldn't believe her eyes, and so she asked, "Who are you? What happened to the frog standing here?"
My beautiful princess, I am the prince of a land far away. The evil witch cast a spell on me and turned me into a frog. To break the spell, I had to spend one night next to a princess and get a kiss from her. Thanks to you, I am safe from being a frog forever.
The princess was very surprised, but also very happy with what she heard. They both went next to the king and told him all about it.
This should be the second lesson the frog has taught you, my dear daughter. We should not evaluate anyone by only their looks and judge without knowing the whole truth about them.
The king hosted the prince for a few more days in his castle. The prince and the princess came next to the pond where they first met.
My princess, will you marry me and come with me to my kingdom?
The princess smiled and nodded, accepting the prince's offer. And right at that moment, a sound broke the silence.
Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit.
They turned and looked where the sound came from. There was a frog next to the pond, looking at them. They held their breath and waited for him to talk. But it didn't happen. They both started laughing.
Don't worry, little froggy. I'm sure you too will find your princess one day.
And laughed a little more. After a short while, they got married and lived happily ever after.